Welcome back. You're still tuned in to News and Views with myself, Salailo Makwidiri. We're going to be kicking the show off with a very, very important story. Picture this, more than 30 nations, including some of Israel's staunchest Western allies, gathered under one roof in Bogotá, Colombia, not for trade, not for war, but to halt what I think at this point we can all agree is the most brutal genocide of our time. And South Africa, well, again, we find ourselves in the front and center of the conversation, and we're going to be unpacking all of that right now. We're going to be taking into, I think, we can consider one of the most important and powerful international summits of the year, the Hague Group Emergency Summit. This is where legal, moral, and political red lines have been drawn. And joining me now is Sunny Morgan. He's a social activist and is with the South African Christians for Palestine. And he's going to be giving us, I think, perspective. He's fresh from tracking developments at that summit and will be joining us to unpack what this bold new wave of global solidarity actually means for the people of Palestine. I think we're all tired from the talk. That's one sense I got while I was watching that address yesterday from Bogota, is that people are tired of sentiment. They're tired of rhetoric. People want action. People want meaningful, tangible actions that's going to be felt by the people of Palestine on the ground. And I think it was very, very important that you could hear from all the different speakers from all across the world that I think everyone agrees that the time for talk shop is over. There needs to be serious action that's taken against Israel. And the people of Palestine, I think at this point, we can all agree, deserve reprieve. It's been a tough couple of years. I think a few years that we can't compare to anything that we've seen in recent times. And yeah, we'll be unpacking all of that with Sunny Morgan. Sunny, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Salam Media. Really appreciate you giving us your time this morning. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Celero, for the invitation. And really, happy to be talking to you about this thing. It's really it's critical at this moment in time.
Most definitely. I think let's just start with your analysis looking at that conference yesterday, that meeting. How significant was it? How significant was the gathering of all of these nations, 30 plus nations in Bogota? Did it feel like a turning point of some sort when it comes to this genocide against the people of Palestine, or was it one of those that I think we've seen so many of in the last couple of months, which just resembled a diplomatic theater, if I can put it that way?
Yeah, so one has to be skeptical. I mean, we are in day 648 of the genocide today, 648. So one can forgive oneself for being skeptical, but I do think that this is completely different. I think that it is the Hague Group, originally 9 countries, now 31 countries, and more countries stepping up to join. I think after this conference, there'll be a flood of other countries that will be joining. So I think this one is different. It's different because it's progressive countries. It's different because it's not the usual Western imperialist nations, and it's not obviously doesn't include the countries that are actually complicit in the genocide. So I think it's different, and I think that we must be expectant of a decent outcome. The opening session yesterday was quite encouraging. It was also quite harrowing to listen to the responses and the inputs of some of the people, but I'm hopeful that it's going to be a turning point. In fact, it has to be a turning point. This is probably the last attempt. There are a number of other attempts like this, including the Madrid group, but I think this is going to be very important, and I have high expectation that a very, very formidable response will come out of it. Remember that it's as activists, we protest, we write articles, we do op-eds, we come on radio shows, but ultimately it's the solution is going to come at a government and a state level. So the combination of 31 countries sitting around the table to say enough is enough, I think it's going to be formidable.
No, definitely. And as a South African, I think what's important for me is the fact that South Africa co-chaired this gathering, this summit, alongside Colombia. Just looking at our country specifically, I know the ICJ was, I think, one of the turning points when it comes to holding Israel accountable in this genocide. But looking at this gathering, at the summit, what specific role is South Africa playing when it comes to driving this movement forward? And what did you gather from our delegation?
So obviously we don't know the background to what the delegation is going to put forward. I think that was that, and that's rightful, so that it's not out in the media before it's been discussed by the other 31 nations. South Africa is at the apex of this conversation. The most courageous move was taking Israel to the ICJ and co-founding the Hague Group and playing a leading role in this conference and in the group as a whole. So I think we always we have a lot of critical things to say about our government, but this is one thing that one of the issues we can celebrate, that we are a leader, a moral leader, a legal leader, and I think even a political leader in this conversation. Our delegation goes to this conference with a position, and the position is a collaborative outcome by all nations that they can stand behind. No one nation is dictating the outcome. I think as activists, we all know what we want. We want an immediate stop to the genocide. We want an end of the occupation. We want Israel to be held accountable for the killing of so many people. But I'm going to leave it to at the end of the day, we'll know a little bit more about the deliberations, but I'm hopeful that it's going to be a strong and actionable response. In your introduction, you were quite right. This is not a talk shop. In fact, everyone said so, from Francesca Albanese to every single speaker, and to hear the voice of the Palestinians. Enough talking about this genocide, enough talking about possible solutions. Let's get on with real action, and states can determine that action. And one of the speakers was quite explicit. We don't have to invent a law. We don't have to exercise a different thing. We don't have to search the toolkit. There are genuine, confirmed, and clear actions that we can take, and I think at the end of the day we're going to be quite surprised that countries are going to be in the Hague Group, particularly, are going to be putting those actions on the table, and I think they are going to hold Israel accountable. But I think that also we're going to see some very, very strong form of isolation of the Israeli state, which should be one of the outcomes, I think.
And I think it's very, very important that you make that point, that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. All the systems are in place, to make sure that Israel is held accountable for this genocide. And I think it ties down to something that the Colombian deputy foreign minister said. He said that this genocide threatens the entire international system. And I thought that's a very, very powerful statement. How would you interpret that? And do you agree with it?
So my strong view is that the international rule-based order is already broken. It's 2 years of a genocide is a clear indicator that no system has been able to uphold the law, and no system has been able to enforce compliance by the United States, the UK, European countries, and Israel itself. So the system is actually broken as it is. This is an attempt actually to fix the system. And so the Colombian representative was totally correct. The impunity that Israel operates under has broken the system. The UN is almost impotent at the moment, and all systems are not performing. This is an attempt to stop Israel, but also to make sure that the system doesn't further deteriorate, and to save what's left of it. And I'm going to call it to reboot the international rule-based order.
No, definitely. Sunny, I want us to take a quick break, but when we come back, I think I want to focus on some of the key points that we discussed, and also the involvement of what one might consider U.S. aligned countries or NATO countries that also attended this summit, and whether or not that signals a shifting tide, even among traditional Western allies of Israel. But yeah, I think there's so much more that we can unpack and dissect from this conference, but we'll do it after the short break.
Sure.
This is Salam Media.
You know, it's a wonder how kids get anything done these days. With all the distractions, when do they even get time to study? As a mother, all I can really do is make sure they have all they need to perform at their best. That's why I choose to include Sunfoil, triple refined pure sunflower oil with every meal I make. Naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether I'm cooking, frying, or baking, I know every dish will be a wholesome one. Sunfoil, now we're cooking.
They say breakfast is the most important meal of the day, yet many children go to school hungry because of poverty. Penny Appeal South Africa's Breakfast Club aims to get a warm, hearty meal to underprivileged children so they can spend their day prospering in their schoolwork. Help feed a needy learner for only 5 Rand a day, or 150 Rand a month. Or visit our website www.pennyappeal.org.za or call 031 1100 573 to find out how you can donate. Penny Appeal South Africa. Small change, big difference.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations, call now on 042-203-1400 or visit kwantu.co.za. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
Gaza needs your support more than ever. Homes have been shattered and families have lost everything. With your support, our teams are delivering clean water tankers, feeding the hungry, and assisting orphans who have no one left. Let us give Gaza whatever help we can. African Muslims Agency, empowering, educating, inspiring.
Valley's Motor Spares. We supply motor spares and accessories for all makes and models of motor cars, LDVs, bakkies, trucks, and earth-moving equipment. We deliver on time, every time. Please contact us via WhatsApp on 014-592-0925 or call 014-592-0925 or visit 28 Zenderling Street, Rustenburg. Remember the name, Valley's Motor Spares.
Connect and stay ahead with Salam Media. This is Salam Media, coming to you live from South Africa.
Welcome back to News and Views on Salam Media. We are continuing our conversation with Sunny Morgan on the groundbreaking Hague Group Emergency Summit that's currently taking place in Bogotá, Colombia. And dissecting with me is, as I mentioned, Sunny Morgan. He's with the South African Christians for Palestine. And Sunny, thank you so much for staying with us. Before we went on that short break, I mentioned that one detail that really stood out for me was among the 30 countries that were attending, some of those countries were NATO members. You know, you have countries like Norway, countries like Portugal, I think Turkey is also there. And these are, traditional US allies, and to an extent, you can say, are supportive of Israel, and were supportive of Israel and some of the actions that they've committed in Gaza. Do you see this as a sign of a shifting tide of some sort, even within the Western Bloc in itself? Are we witnessing a quiet breakaway from the US-led narrative in Gaza?
No, I do think that's probably an accurate assessment, but I think it's still early stages. We need to see how those countries like Turkey and those countries that traditionally align with Western hegemony. I'm not going to accuse them of being direct supporters of Israel, but I think the time will tell. But by the end of the day, we'll know on which side of the fence they sit. Their inclusion in the group of 31 is encouraging. I think it's early to think that it's an indicator as a split, but it's interesting that they are around the table. I'm hopeful that they're going to show their integrity. One of the key demands, well, I think one of the two main demands of this conference, or the outcomes of this conference, is to basically stop the genocide and then to end the complicity of nations that are part of that offensive of the genocide. So their involvement here is going to be an indicator of on which side of the fence they stay. And that may be, if they come out strongly in favor of action against Israel, but also against complicit countries, and they do that strongly, the outcome of that and the resolution of the genocide, that may be a split. I wrote long ago, very early at the start of the genocide, I said that this genocide will have profound changes in the international order. We have already seen it. I think this is going to strengthen the global South. I think it's going to strengthen the non-traditional countries that are traditionally associated with Western hegemony. I think that break is evident. But how we deal with the genocide in Gaza is going to be determining factor whether there's a permanent split in this east-west axis, I think.
Very, very important. One other thing that was discussed, and I think it was one of the boldest actions that was put on the table, was the enforcement of the ICC arrest warrants for Benjamin Netanyahu and also former Minister of Defense of Israel, Gallant. Is there any kind of realistic path to that actually happening, or as you mentioned, it could be an indicator that the systems that are supposed to be governing the world and all of the rules and regulations that we thought were the playbook of how things are supposed to be done are all broken. They're all in the dustbin, essentially.
So yeah, I think the ICC warrants are a distraction. There's no country. Netanyahu, Ben-Gvir, and Gallant just don't have to visit the countries where they're likely to get arrested. And I don't think they're going to be too worried about that a certain country is going to arrest them. But what we're going to do is one of the outcomes of this conference, and an actionable outcome, must be international isolation of the entire Israeli regime. Through boycotts, through sanctions, to divestment, to legal means. So I'm not too worried about the ICC warrants. I'm more interested in the ICJ case, which is a statewide prerogative. And then, of course, the demands of the Hague Group are quite specific. And I think if we stick to that, we're more likely to have a success. I said that the ultimate end to the genocide is going to have to be negotiated at a state level. The ICC operates at an individual level, right? But the ICC operates at an individual level. The ICJ is state obligations, and this is where the action actually needs to take place. And I think by the end of the day, we're going to know whether this was a talk shop or is this the stake in the ground that changes everything.
No, definitely. And I think it's interesting that you speak of the ICJ rulings against Israel, which they themselves have been largely ignored. And now the question will be, can these new collective actions truly force accountability on that level?
I think it can, right? Because if the demands of the Hague Group come through strongly and is a unanimous decision, what we are basically saying is no arms, no country in that group or anywhere, in fact, must be sending arms to Israel. Because without arms, without the support of the United Nations, even the United Nations itself, the United States itself cannot afford to give Israel an unlimited amount of arms, because the arms comes from Germany, they come from suppliers in the UK. If the demand is met and this conference rules no arms to that apartheid state at all, no ship stopping and no safe harbor anywhere in the world for any transport mechanism, and persona non grata for the entire Israeli state apparatus, that is enough to change the direction of this war, of this genocide. The playbook is already there. One of the first gains that we were able to do, and we're able to make progress in the South African fight against apartheid, is when union workers in the UK and in countries and universities in California decided they were not going to have anything to do with the apartheid state of South Africa. And they refused to unpack the ships, whether it was oranges or whatever it was the cargo. They just flatly refused. Just like a Greek union a week or two ago did exactly that. They said they will refuse to unpack ships that are destined for Israel. That kind of concrete action, no safe harbor, no arms response, no arms exports of any kind, even the material to make weapons of any kind, and make the world so narrow and so small that an Israeli state official or the state apparatus is not able to visit, not able to get a platform. So even as extreme as kicking them out as a member of the United Nations. That is how forceful and how grave the situation is. So we expect that kind of real implementable actions to come out of the conference.
No, definitely. I think we went to on that note. Sonny Morgan, he's an activist and also with the South African Christians for Palestine. Really appreciate you giving us your time.
Thank you for the invite. Much appreciated. Free Palestine.
There you go. Yeah, that was Sonny Morgan, as I mentioned, giving us, I think, a piercing insight into a summit that hopefully, we all hope at this point, might just reshape the global conversation on Gaza and international law in general. I think as more and more countries rise to say enough, the question is now whether global conscience will finally eclipse political convenience. And yeah, whether from Bogotá in Colombia to The Hague to here at home in Johannesburg, the world will choose law over lies, hopefully choose law over lies and justice over genocide. You can engage with us. What do you think of the summit? Do you think it'll make a difference? 30 countries from all across the world, and others that are considered traditional US and Israel allies being part of the summit that says, well, we need action when it comes to genocide. We need consequences for the apartheid state of Israel. Do you think this will work, or do you think this is another talk shop? We've seen a lot happening. We've seen all kinds of summits and all kinds of conversations taking place in the last few years since October the 7th, but nothing of substance, that is felt by the people of Gaza on the ground has been achieved thus far. Do you think this is maybe a turning point, that so many countries are now in unison? It's no longer, little pockets of conversation, little pockets of condemning Israel to the fullest, but it's now 30 countries from across the world, from different continents, that are saying, well, enough is enough. Action needs to be taken. You can engage with us. Our studio line is 061-766-0355. That's our WhatsApp line. That's where you can send a message, a voice note, and tell us what you think. You can also share your comments on whatever platform you're watching us on, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, or X, and tell us if whether or not this is a turning point in this genocide, or finally see a global response against Israel and some reprieve for the people of Gaza. I think at this point, that's what they would want, even if it could be for a week, even if it could be for, I don't know, 60 days, a ceasefire, a break into the siege, the opening of humanitarian corridors, just a sense of normalcy, I think that's what they're hoping for at this point. And when you engage with them, we talk to a few of them, colleagues that are journalists, and they'll tell you, even if it could be for a week, even if it could be for 2 days, where aid is allowed, medicine is allowed into the country, people are allowed to just breathe, without the fear of having bombs over their heads. So yeah, I think it'll be an interesting one to look out for. I will definitely be following some of the recommendations that have been made from the summit, and we'll be reporting on some of them. We're going to take a quick break. After the break, we're going to be having a hashtag Africa Focus feature where we focus on the continent, some of the pressing issues, breaking news that are shaping the vast and beautiful continent of ours. And we'll be heading over to Nigeria, where the legacy of former President Muhammadu Buhari is sparking fierce debate. If you haven't heard, former President of Nigeria, Buhari, passed away on Sunday in London. And hero to some, villain to others. We'll be unpacking all of that after this.